What's up, you guys? Teddy Striker here, and last Saturday we saw two great performances with two different fighters. One in the UFC, Max Holloway, and then in boxing with Alexander Usyk. And both these fighters, what they have in common besides winning is the fact that they are fighting in their natural weight classes and they are putting on dominant performances over guys who are bigger than them, and they've overall just looked better than what they were at their previous weight class. Usyk being a cruiserweight below 200 pounds and Max Holloway being a featherweight at 145 pounds. They both looked better, and in my opinion, they've had some of their best performances when they have moved up in weight and fought at their natural weight classes without really cutting weight. And after seeing these great fighters, I feel like more fighters should stop cutting weight and fight closer to their natural weight. Because I believe the benefits of not cutting weight are that you're going to have a speed advantage, you're going to have better durability, your punching power may increase, you'll have more time to spend on your skill development, and also you might actually have better endurance. So let's dive deep into these 5 things. So firstly, the speed advantage. In the UFC, we've seen several fighters move up in weight, and recently we saw Michael Vanna Page move up to the middleweight division against a fast, dynamic striker like Magomed Bullet, and he was significantly faster than him. He was landing the cleaner shots and getting out the way. Shara Bullet landed 2 strikes to Michael Vanna Page's head to the face. He barely touched him in that fight. And yeah, MVP looked incredible, even though he's 38 years old, but he is a lighter man moving up, which is why I think he had the speed advantage. But also, we can look at Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje. Max Holloway moved up from the featherweight division, and he looked like he was 3 times faster than Justin Gaethje, not just offensively, but his footwork, defensively, his kicks were on point. He was making Gaethje miss, and he was landing fast punches that in real time you might actually miss. Look at this clip right here. It generally looks like Max only lands 1 punch, but he actually lands 2. But you're going to miss it in real time because he was just moving that quickly. He was on a different level because he was used to fighting smaller fighters who were really fast, but then he moved up, and as you move up, the guys get bigger, they have more size on them, and they're not going to be as fast as the guys you're fighting before in that lower weight class. But the second advantage to not cutting weight is that you're going to have better durability. And for this, I want to look at Alex Pereira. In the middleweight division, he was not quite as durable as he was at 205 because this guy was cutting it over 30 pounds to make the middleweight division. And he clearly was not a natural middleweight. And you could see that in his fights with Israel Adesanya. Of course, Israel Adesanya is a very good puncher. He knows how to hit you well. He's very fast. He's got great accuracy. But I don't know if I would describe him as a power puncher. And that's what he looked like when he was fighting Pereira. He was hurting him really consistently. And of course, he was hitting him in the right spots. But when you compare the shots Adesanya was landing to a guy like Yair Prochazka, who is actually a power puncher, you see that there is a clear difference in Pereira's ability to take the shots because he's not dehydrating his brain and losing so much weight to the point where he might not be at his best. But speaking of Alex Pereira, since we're talking about him, another advantage of not cutting weight is that you might actually have more punching power. I want to really take a look at Max Holloway and Alex Pereira, and then I actually have some counter arguments to this. But firstly, obviously you're not losing as much weight. You have a lot more weight on your frame. And these guys already know how to punch really well. They have the good mechanics down. So now you're adding more mass to that already solid foundation of the punching technique. And also they have speed. So that's just going to amplify the amount of force they're able to generate on their opponents. And you can really see this with Alex Pereira. Adesanya is known for having a very solid chin. But so is Yair Prochazka. Prochazka had, he had been KO before, but he was taking some master shots off some big light heavyweights, and he wasn't really going down. But Pereira hit him with a left hook where Pereira didn't really rotate his hips. He didn't really rotate his shoulder. He just like threw the punch. Like it was kind of like an arm punch, and he sat him down clean. And then you look at Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill was a guy that had never been dropped before he fought Alex Pereira. He had never been really hurt or rocked. And Pereira hit him with one clean left hook, and he put him out. And it was like he was really out bad. Like, bro looked like he was on Mars. And then you compare that to Jamal Hill's fight with Yuri Prochazka. Yuri, again, he's known for his punching power. And he was like hurting him really bad, but Yuri wasn't able to hurt him to the same extent as Alex Pereira. And Yuri Prochazka is an established light heavyweight. Well, Pereira, like Jamal Hill, was like his third fight at light heavyweight, and he was already putting him out cold. And Jamal was not getting up from like that left hook he took from Pereira. And that just shows like how powerful Pereira is. And then you look at Max Holloway, a guy who was he was like teaching featherweights like free striking lessons in the octagon, teaching them how to block and things like that. And he was like setting record numbers of strikes landed in fights. This guy was like beating people up like for 5 rounds, but he wasn't really like hurting them too bad. But then he moved up to the lightweight division, and then he started hurting Justin Gaethje with every single punch he threw at him. He started hurting Dustin Poirier like really bad in the third fight, worse than he had before. Even though before he moved up, but he wasn't really a proper lightweight. He was still, the featherweight champion, but now he was like fully committed, and you saw the difference in his power. He put on the weight, he knows how to punch, and he did a lot of damage, and also he has that speed, which just, again, amplified that power, and he was able to hurt Poirier and Gaethje real bad. But there is a counter argument, and that is Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade was very powerful, or still is very powerful in the strawweight division. I mean, she's knocking like female fighters out, and you don't really see that in the female divisions. You don't really see knockouts or knockdowns, but Jessica Andrade was getting multiple knockdowns, multiple knockouts in the strawweight division. I mean, she was very powerful. She was like the female Mike Tyson, but then when she moved up to the flyweight division, like you see the difference. Like these women were able to take her punches a lot better. I mean, Lauren Murphy was a punching bag for 3 rounds, but she didn't go down at all. She was getting clipped like clean on the chin with like 68 plus significant strikes to the face, and there was no knockdowns. She wasn't getting rocked at all. So you saw there was a clear difference in Jessica Andrade's power from the strawweight division to the flyweight division. And then you look at Conor McGregor in the featherweight division and the lightweight division, and when he was like getting knockdowns or like just touching his opponents at featherweight, he was finishing them off quickly. Like they were hurt really bad to the point where he only needed like 1 or 2 follow-up strikes. But then when he moved up to the lightweight division, it was a lot different. He was like dropping guys, sure, but then like they weren't actually like really badly hurt. Like it was more like flash knockdowns. But it took like 5 knockdowns to get Eddie Alvarez out of there. It took like he didn't even like get Dustin Poirier out of there in the rematch. Like he was hitting him with a whole lot of clean shots on the chin, but Dustin Poirier was able to take them, and you can see that there is a clear difference in McGregor at 145 and McGregor at 155. With the power that he had, it wasn't quite the same. Overall, I still feel like when you're moving up, you can still generate a bit more power, but there are some outliers out there, so I wouldn't be, putting this one as like the highest of the benefits of not cutting weight. The next benefit of not cutting weight is you'll have more time to spend on your skills instead of cutting weight. Jamal Hill is a great example for this.
I've entered my last 3 camps at the lowest was maybe 260 pounds. This last camp, when I started, I was about maybe 265 pounds. That goes into that work. I cannot spend camps trying to make weight. Whenever I have to focus on improvement, and as well as strengthening in places that I'm weak with injury and things like that.
I think Jamal Hill would be a much better fighter if he wasn't spending the majority of his training camp trying to lose like 60 pounds just to make weight, because he would just be focusing on his holes, his actual skills, and he would progress a lot faster because you're just worried about just cutting weight all the time. And Paddy Pimblett does the same. He does actually like a pre-training camp just to make sure he loses weight because he gets so out of shape that he needs to focus on losing weight first, and then he can start his training camp. That's why Paddy hasn't really been that active, because he just has to cut a whole bunch of weight first, and then he can start like doing his training camp, which is crazy. But the last reason why I think fighters should stop cutting weight and fight at their natural weight classes is because in some cases you can actually increase your endurance. And that's because extreme dehydration can limit your cardiovascular performance. I mean, there are some fighters like Islam Makhachev who cut a lot of weight, Aljamain Sterling who would weigh in at like 170 pounds when he's not in fight shape, and then cut down to 135 pounds. And that can really have a bad impact on your performance. I mean, when Islam fought Volkanovski for the first time, he made weight 155, but he said that rehydration was the worst he's had in his whole career, and that the window for the rehydration wasn't long enough. And it really impacted his performance against Volk, and that's why he started to slow down as the fight went into the championship rounds. And then you look at Aljamain Sterling, who cut a lot of weight in the Petr Yan 1 fight. He had like cut a lot of weight, and he said he didn't really put the weight back on the right way, and he had like he didn't have breakfast or whatnot. Something happened with that, and he performed really poorly. Like his cardio looked like the worst it's ever looked, and he just got dominated in that fight, and he still got the win. But you know, it is what it is. He still looked like a shadow of his best self, like he was in the second Petr Yan fight. So overall, I feel like there's a lot of benefits in not cutting weight. I feel like we're going to see much better fighters because they'll be a lot healthier and won't have anything that really damages their performance outside of maybe injuries. But regardless, I feel like this is great for the sport. I feel like Max Holloway and Alexander Usyk really showed that you can still beat bigger fighters despite being the smaller guy moving up. And I think there's a lot of advantages, but let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you guys for watching. God bless, and I will see you in the next one.